Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils with another series win. We'll react to all the action from the weekend against the Diamondbacks on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio, now a little bit of television as well. For about 5 years, I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the last 4 seasons, and this is my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that you're rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts, because we're available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're checking us out on YouTube and watching the show today, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. It'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted, so you don't miss anything. You want to be zoned in, especially as we get deeper into the season. More interesting stuff happening with the Phillies. So subscribe to the YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We're going to start with a little bit of reaction to the Phils' third straight series win, taking 2 of 3 from the Diamondbacks over the weekend. The good, most of it was the good, and then a little bit of the bad. Speaking of the bad, we will talk about Ranger Suarez's rough start in his first action of the year in our second segment. And then we're going to wrap up with what we usually do on off days, which is a standings check and a little perspective on where the Phils are compared to teams around baseball. But people should be very happy with the performance out of the Philadelphia Phillies over the weekend. Funny enough, I think my favorite game from the Phillies is the one that they didn't win, which was Sunday's game, because they got down big early. We're going to talk about how they got down big early when we talk about Rangers' rough start. But you win the first 2 games of the series. Game 3, you don't really need it. You want to sweep, right? But I had somebody saying, well, the Phillies are going to have to sweep teams if they're going to get where they want to go. I mean, you want to see them sweep, right? I'm not anti the sweep. But if they were to win 2 out of 3 the rest of the way, they win like 104 games. That's pretty darn good. So, yeah, you don't have to sweep teams. You want to sweep teams, but winning series is the goal. The Phillies accomplished that goal. And yesterday, they fought back like crazy to force extra innings. Just big late home run after big late home run. Weston Wilson, Kyle Schwarber, big hits. Alec Bohm, a big one to tie the game up and send it to extras. And unfortunately, the Phillies came up short, but they didn't really have the horses in the bullpen. Once that game went into extras, they had to go to the bullpen early because Ranger got bounced from his start pretty early. But that was just one of those, when a team is not going good, right? When they're in a bad stretch of the season, or a team that maybe doesn't have the expectations that the Phillies have, maybe not the experience that the Phillies have. When they see 7-2 in like the 4th inning, you know what's going to happen? They're going to lay down. They're going to roll over. They're going to say, get us to the next series. Oh, yeah, we're getting on a plane. We got an off day down in Tampa tomorrow before we take on the Rays. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's get out of here. We won 2 out of 3. That's fine. Phillies didn't accept it. They fought all the way back. They forced extra innings. Unfortunately, it didn't go their way. But that is the mark of a team that is not only playing good baseball right now, but is also resigned to the commitment to trying to compete and win every game, right? Whether they have their best lineup out there, their worst lineup out there, their best pitcher out there, their worst pitcher out there. That was a reason why they're called the Fighting Phils, right? They're going to fight till the end, and that's a mark of a really good team. But that was a loss, and clearly there are more good things in the other 2 games of the series. The first game of the series was really, really clutch out of the Phillies. We talked on Friday about Bryce Harper a little bit and how he's kind of the clutch component of the team. And when you don't have that, well, this Phillies team has had trouble with runners in scoring position. They've had lethargic days by the offense, days, nights, weekends, anything. That was kind of a theme of the season so far. Well, they win 3-2 on Friday, and they absolutely stole one with Kyle Schwarber and Max Kepler going deep late in the game to come back and find a way to victory. They scored 2 in the bottom of the 7th, shut everything out the rest of the way, and it was a nice come-from-behind win for the Philadelphia Phillies. You also got a nice pitching performance from Jesus Luzardo. Even though he gave up 9 hits, he was able to strike out 6 and keep the Diamondbacks to only 2 earned runs. So good stuff in game 1. Kepler goes yard. Schwarber goes yard for the first time in a while. Actually, yeah. No, did he go in the Washington series? No, sorry. He went in the Washington series. Harper went yard for the first time in a while in yesterday's game. I just got the 2 homerless droughts mixed up, but it's nice to see Schwarber hitting the bunches now. Harper maybe figured something out yesterday in his early home run in that game. So that's good to see the power coming back. Max Kepler went yard. And Max Kepler is starting to really, really hit his power stride. Now, is this a hot stretch of a couple of games? I think he's homered in 4 of the last 7 games he's played. 4 of the last 8 the Phillies have played in because, well, he did pinch hit yesterday, but he didn't start. Only got 1 at bat. Kepler's a guy that if he starts hitting home runs too, man, this lineup, you lengthen it a little bit, right? You're starting to look at the 6 and the 7 and the 8 hitter. You say, oh, wow, well, that guy's a little bit of trouble. That guy's hot right now. Can't get through that dude. Oh, and at the top, you're going to have to go through Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. Like, yeah, you saw a little bit of a reason why this Phillies lineup is really tough to deal with. I also think outside of Ranger Suarez, the Phillies pitching was really, really good in this series. I mean, when you look at game 1, you did not have an earned run or a run in general surrendered by the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen. Game 2 was a 7-2 rout by the Fighting Phils where they were in control all the way. JT Realmuto was able to go yard. He's starting to show off a little bit of the pop. Once again, Aaron Nola was really good. He's now had 2 good starts in a row. And the Phillies bullpen, Carlos Fernandez gave up 2, but you got 2 other scoreless innings from Banks and Ross. And, of course, Nola was scoreless. 4 hits, allowed 8 strikeouts. Like, Nola bounces back, so the rotation feels more balanced. Bottom of the lineup starting to hit more. Bottom of the lineup feels more balanced. Brandon Marsh came back up. He had an RBI double in that 7-2 game. Nice to see from him get things going. So I look at it and I say, oh, okay, is this the team that we thought we were going to see? And you know what's funny? Even in this series against the Diamondbacks, there are still things left on the table. Alec Bohm has not hit a home run yet. Wild that Rojas has hit a home run. Weston Wilson has multiple. Like, JT's starting to hit him out. Everybody on this team is going yard besides Alec Bohm. If he starts hitting for a little bit of power, which I'm not really counting on because that's not the guy that he's been, but starts to create more gap-to-gap power, talking doubles and stuff like that, well, then you're looking at an even better baseball team. If the bullpen starts to be more consistently what we've seen over the past 2 series, yeah, you're talking about a damn good baseball team. And again, these are not things that I'm banking on. I'm not saying this is going to happen. Alec Bohm's going to hit 20 home runs. The bullpen's going to have a sub-3 ERA when the year's all set. No, we're not there. We're not at a point where we're believing in these things. But there is a reason to think that logically it could happen, right? And when you look at it that way, you say the ceiling for this Phillies team has not yet been reached, and it shouldn't be. We're in May. But on this Cinco de Mayo, Feliz Cinco de Mayo, by the way, to everybody out there checking out Locked On Phillies right now, with this team playing good baseball, winning 3 series in a row, they're really making people, or at least they should, feel more comfortable about them being the team we thought they were. They're a damn good baseball team. We'll talk about that in the off-day standings check and where they rank around baseball record-wise compared to divisional teams, league teams, MLB teams in general. Arizona's not a slouch team. They came into this series with the same record as the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phils handled business. They took one in a pitcher's duel in game 1. They smoked them in game 2, and in game 3, they fought all the way back to push it to extras. The Diamondbacks had to fight tooth and nail even to find 1 victory in this series. They're feeling like a tough team to play right now, the Phillies are. And they're doing it not just against the Rockies, not just against the Nationals. No, Cubs, Diamondbacks, quality teams. Good stuff. One thing to keep an eye on as this week gets ready to go, and we'll talk more about this on tomorrow's episode as we preview the series with the Rays that starts on Tuesday of this week. The Phillies have been very good at home. They have not been very good on the road. I'll give you those splits in 1 second here. The Phils are at home 13-6. On the road, they're 6-9. Nice. And It's not a nice record there on the road, and you want to be over 500 both places, but you're always going to expect to play better at Citizens Bank Park. This is a big road trip because I'd like to see them get that back to 500 on the road and find a way to, well, it'd be tough for them to get it back to 500 or above 500 on just this road trip, having to make up 3 games on that. We will still see if they'll have better success than they have on previous road trips. So Citizens Bank Park has been good to the Phillies. The past 3 series has been good to the Phillies. They're starting to hit their stride. We talked about it last week. Then they lost the game. I was like, was I presumptive with that? No, I was right. Well, I don't mean to say it like that, but if you have good vibes about this team, you're right to have good vibes about this team, is all I'm saying. It's not I predicted this type of thing. It's I thought they were starting to come out of it, and they have proven that they are winning baseball games right now at a consistent rate. That's a good thing to see. Over 9 games, they've done 2 out of 3 in all of them. So you love to see it. It's a good time to be a Phillies fan, and we will see if that carries up as they go on the road. Good thing they're on the road, by the way, because the weather this week in Philadelphia is not great. We will see if they can take advantage in a minor league park down in Tampa and on the road in Cleveland after that. But they're going to need Ranger Suarez to do so. And he was not good in his first start of the year. Not good at all. We will talk about how much you worry about Ranger Suarez, when you start worrying if you're not yet, and just what really seemed to be the issue as he struggled in his first action of the year for the Phils as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Monarch Money first, though, because I know this has happened to you. You've checked your bank account and wondered, where in the world did all my money go? I just paid rent. I just paid my credit card bill. I'm like, man, I have nothing left after that. Is there a way I could be saving more? Well, if you're asking these questions, that's where Monarch Money comes in. They're your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. They're not just a budgeting app. They're a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, well, it really showed me how much I'm going out to the bar. And you kind of know, but one bar tab here, one bar tab there. And the next thing you know, well, rent and the credit card bill are a little bit tighter. It breaks all of that down, where your money's going. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get half off your first year. Go ahead and check out monarchmoney.com. It was a rough one for Ranger Suarez in his first action of the year, and this wasn't completely unexpected. We knew he was going to be rusty. That's why I said game 1 of that series was hugely important for them to win, and they did. But also Nola being good really helps balance this out. So you got to remember right now, Wheeler's your ace. Sanchez is probably your 2, maybe Luzardo with the way he's throwing. I'm talking currently, right? I'm not talking overall. But let's just make Luzardo the 2 right now, Sanchez the 3. Those guys are pitching very well. And then Aaron Nola has had 2 really good starts in a row. And you could be looking at him as your 4th pitcher right now, with Ranger Suarez as the 5th. Taijuan Walker went to the bullpen, and Ranger Suarez took over that spot in the rotation. So they did not go with a 6-man rotation, which I think is the right decision. We talked about this last week. Taijuan to the bullpen, Ranger Suarez to the rotation, and Jose Ruiz, luckily, well, not luckily because you don't want anybody hurt, timely for him to go on the injured list. Is that a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Obviously, we hope he's okay. We hope he's back here with the Phillies soon, because he's not one of the get him out of the bullpen guys, even though he hasn't had a great start to the year. A lot of guys in the Phillies bullpen have not had great starts to the year, but it worked out that he went on the injured list just as Ranger Suarez was coming back. Brandon Marsh comes up for Cal Stevenson, by the way, while we're talking about roster moves. So Cal Stevenson no longer with the team right now, but Marsh reinstated. And you get a perfect 1-for-1 swap. Ranger to the rotation, Walker to the bullpen. That was the right move. Walker is not as good as Ranger Suarez, even though Ranger Suarez looked rough. So why did Ranger Suarez look rough? How long do we wait for him to figure it out? For me, my mark is 4 starts. Right? I will be very lenient with Ranger Suarez, this start included, for his first 4 starts of the year. After that, well, we start to have a conversation. If he still looks bad, well, buddy, we might have to figure something out. And I hope it doesn't get there. I don't think it will get there. Remember, Diamondbacks good team. And Ranger had the first 2 innings locked down, but then everything started to unravel in the 3rd and the 4th. And he did not get out of the 4th inning. He had to go to the bullpen early. And it was a bit of a mess. He didn't look like he had his legs under him. Looked like he faded in stamina pretty quickly. And you'll see that from guys as they start to get going at the start of their year. Remember, this is just like Ranger Suarez making this as his first start out of spring training. And even then, when guys throw in spring training, they'll throw against major league competition. It won't be a full major league lineup, but you're going to face major league guys. Ranger, in his rehab start, was not facing major league guys, right? He was facing just minor league dudes. So he didn't get the full experience of like preparing for the season the right way. We've been down this path with Ranger Suarez before. Visa issue, sickness, injury, all kinds of stuff have plagued the start of this guy's seasons. But what we have seen is in all of those seasons, he has eventually gotten to a point where he looks like the guy he looked like for 2 months of last year, which is a pretty darn dominant pitcher. I think he's going to be just fine. I'm not overly worried about it. The velocity didn't look bad. The commands looked okay early. It just looked like kind of a rusty thing to me. There was nothing striking about Ranger Suarez's performance where I was like, oh, this guy, I got some red flags. It was clearly this guy's behind the 8 ball compared to everybody else. He will catch up. He will. And over the first 4 starts, I'm willing to be like, okay, cut down on the innings expectation. I'm not looking for Ranger to go 6 or 7. If he can give me 5 good innings his next start, great. 2 to 3 earned runs, perfect. You're going to have to score more when Ranger's on the mound until he starts to figure that out, but that's okay. You were kind of doing that with Taijuan Walker anyway, and maybe it doesn't take 4 starts for him to figure it out. Maybe it's just hey, that was a rough first one, and the weather wasn't great, and I don't know, maybe the conditions weren't perfect for him to make his first start of the year. Not that you should need the conditions to be perfect at the major league level, but I'm not overly worried about Ranger Suarez. He was doing some weird stuff on the mound. There are a couple of weird moments. His pitch decision-making, which is a collaboration between him and JT Realmuto, you look at that and you say, okay, well, he threw there was one where he threw like a 70-mile-an-hour curveball, which is slower than what his curveball normally is. He was like tinkering with some stuff. He had a moment earlier on in the game where I forget who was on second. Maybe it was Corbin Carroll, who just swiped third as he was standing on the mound, Ranger. And as a lefty, that's a little harder to see because your back is the third base, but still is just not very aware of base runners. It felt like a spring training type of performance from Ranger Suarez. And that's not something that should have been completely unexpected. It's annoying in the moment. But again, if you're worried long-term about Ranger Suarez, you shouldn't be. Now, what's the contingency plan if he struggles? Well, I know what people are going to say. Do you trade him when it comes to the trade deadline? I don't think they do, but it depends how he throws. Do you move him to the bullpen and then bring Taijuan Walker back into the rotation? I do not think that is on the table. I think Ranger's in the rotation. I think the only person who could possibly knock Ranger out of the rotation is Andrew Painter. And that's a long way away. We're still waiting until July. Still got a full month, basically 2 months until the point where Andrew Painter would come up for this team if the Phillies are sticking to their initial game plan. So you're stuck with, well, not stuck with. You have Ranger in the rotation for the foreseeable future. You have Taijuan Walker in the bullpen for the foreseeable future. And you just have to hope that he figures it out to be the elite level pitcher that he was when he was healthy last year. And I didn't see anything on Sunday, even though it wasn't his best performance, that says he can't be that guy this year. It's early. We don't know. Do not overreact. Do not let this tell you that the Phillies made the wrong decision starting Ranger Suarez because you think Taijuan Walker would have given you a better start. Maybe he would have, but the higher ceiling is Ranger, and they're chasing that higher ceiling, and they're right to, at least in my opinion. Now, maybe you say, well, Connor, I'm not giving him 4 starts. I'm giving him the next 1 or 2, and then he's better get it going. Or, Connor, you're too hasty. Maybe he needs longer than 4 starts before he works back into it. That feels a little bit lenient even for my standards. But I did talk to, because now over on the radio side at my radio job, 97.5 The Fanatic, I'm also on NBC Sports Philadelphia with the afternoon show. So I sit alongside Ricky Bottalico, who you'll remember from his time with the Phillies, played Major League Baseball for a long time, knows the game inside and out. So I talked to a Major League relief pitcher about baseball every single day, and I pick up some tidbits from him. And he said he's giving Ranger a month. Like, that's what he wants to give him as far as like how long he has to figure it out and start to look like himself. And I thought that was way too long. So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. It's from a guy who pitched at that level. Maybe more lenient is the better decision with Ranger. I think 4 is right in the sweet spot. Once you get through 4 starts, then you kind of reevaluate what he is at that time. Just remember, Aaron Nola, who pitched awesome on Saturday and had a really good start in his start before his one against the Diamondbacks, lost his first 5 starts of the year. People were ready to run him out of town. So it takes a while, and sometimes guys can just figure it out in the snap, and Ranger has been around long enough to figure it out in the snap. So no worries about Ranger right now. Rough first start, shaking the rust off. That's all I'm counting it as at this point. And trust me, we will update when he takes the mound next. But first, we have to update the standings around Major League Baseball and where the Phillies are at. They're in a much better spot than when we did this last, with the last off day, which was what, Thursday? They had an off day, or was it last Monday? Either way, the last off day, the Philadelphia Phillies were able to improve on their standings since that. And we will take a look at the division, which is getting tighter, the overall standings, which the Phillies are now in the top 10. They're in a solid spot for where we're at in the season right now. And also some sneaky, interesting teams that are important to the Phillies that are in weird spots in the standings. So we'll break that all down next as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Upwork first, though, because scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, marketing, all of that good stuff. Whether you need extra hands for a project or maybe a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results in a previous job. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates to choose from will be available. And instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Check out our friends over at Upwork. All right, let's take a look at these standings. And the Phillies, they're slowly climbing. We'll start with the overall Major League Baseball standings with you'll never guess who's in first. Dodgers is the best record in baseball. Yep, things have evened out for LA. They're starting to play like the team that we all knew they were going to be. Interesting enough, San Diego, who's also in the NL West, is just a half game back of them. 23-11 for the Dodgers, 22-11 for the Padres. The Giants are 22-13. That NL West, whew, thank God the Phillies aren't in that division. The Tigers, little fun story. They're third best record in Major League Baseball now, 22-13. Now that's tied with the Mets and the Giants, but they're listed higher, I guess, based on tiebreakers. The Mets have slid a little bit, even though 22-13 is not a bad mark. The Phillies have stepped up a little bit. And as we go down a little bit further, the Phillies' 10th best record in baseball behind Yankees, the Guardians, who they'll see later this week, the Cubs, the Mariners having a nice start to the year, Giants, Mets, Tigers, Padres, and Dodgers, who we all mentioned. Just to give you an idea, though, how early we are in the season still, the team right behind the Phillies in the overall standings, Oakland Athletics 19-16. The Baltimore Orioles, who were a trendy pick to win the AL East, they're 13-20, fourth worst record in baseball. The Braves are 15-18, 3 games under 500, 7.5 back from best record in baseball. Things are weird right now still. It's still relatively early. In the National League, the Phillies have the 6th best record. That just shows you the National League significantly better than the American League to start the season. But that's all right. You're not too worried about it. There's only one team in the division that you're really looking at, and that's the Mets. And as we get to the division, well, the Phillies are only 2.5 games back of the Mets right now at 19-15. Striking distance if the Mets start to slide and if the Phillies stay on this run here. Now, this is striking. Speaking of striking distance, the run differential in the NL East. The Marlins are minus 54. They stink. The Braves are only minus 6. They've been a little unlucky to be at 15-18 because the Nationals, who are 16-19, same difference in margin from a 500 record, are minus 28. They are 22 runs worse in run differential than the Braves that have one more win than them. So, I don't know. Does that tell you Atlanta's closer? It tells you they're a better team, but who knows with all this issues. They've just got bad vibes, the Atlanta Braves. And the Nationals, the Phillies have their numbers. So we said, remember, ahead of the season, one of our talking points, whoever takes advantage of playing the Nationals is going to be the team that wins this division. The Marlins stink. I thought the Braves were good. We'll see if that plays out over 162. Knew the Mets, Phillies, and Braves were true contenders, it looked like. The Nationals were kind of that wild card team. Are they going to be good? Are they going to be 500? Are they going to be better than 500? And if you can take advantage of that middle team in the division who's going to take games off the Braves, going to take games off the Mets, then you can find yourself on top in the division. But 2.5 games back of the Mets. The Phillies run differential, it's only +8. You expect it to be higher than that, right? The Mets, +56. Their offense has started to get going. And that pitching staff has just been really, really good for them. So they've only allowed 112 runs. For example, the Phillies have allowed 151. So the big difference there is just the pitching staff and the more consistent pitching that the Nationals, that the Mets are getting out of their bullpen, and their rotation has been really good as well. I don't see that holding. Over 162 games, I do not think the Mets pitching staff is going to be better than the Phillies. Now, over the first, let me do some quick math here. 34 games? They have been, or 35 the Mets have played. They played one more game than the Fighting Phils to this point. But that stuff's not going to hold. Just like the offense is waking up for the Phils, eventually the Mets rotation is going to come back down to earth. You have to imagine, right? So the division is not in a bad spot. Normally, you don't really start to look at the standings. There's this old principle in baseball that Memorial Day is the first time you should really start taking a peek at the standings and say, okay, here's where this team is, here's where that team is. Now, we do it on off days because I talk about this team every day with you guys, and I want to make sure you're still updated. But really, if you're looking critically at the standings, like, oh, this team's in trouble. This team is really good. You don't really make that determination until the end of the month of May. I heard something very interesting. This is just a sidebar. But there was a great interview with Barstool Sports that Christian Yelich gave. He was on Pardon My Take. And the guys were talking to him on that podcast about, okay, when do you start to worry, like, hey, I've had a slow start to the year. When is it panic time of, man, I'm going to be digging myself out of a hole for the rest of the year? And he said, April, you don't really worry about it. May, kind of June is when you really have to start looking like, oh, can I break out of this? If I've struggled to that point, it's going to be really hard to have respectable numbers at the end of it all. And remember, this is a former MVP of the National League. Like, this is not just some scrub who's like, I don't really care. I'm going to bat 220 either way. Like, Yelich could hit, man. He's taken steps back in recent years, but they're comfortable with struggling until June. That was kind of eye-opening for me. Or sorry, into June. That feels late in the season from even my perspective, and I like to be a little bit more patient with the development of a baseball season. So all of this to tell you, the Phils are in a solid spot. They've had an okay start to the year. Well, we'll say good start to the year. Not great. Not excellent, good start to the year. They're pacing out fine. They're exactly who we thought they were as far as a regular season baseball team. They're going to win plenty of games to make it into October, I think. And then what happens in October? Well, that's still up in the air, but that's something that we cross a bridge when we come to it. Okay? Right now, The only bridge we have to cross, I guess, is the one in Tampa over all that water. They have that really, really long bridge down there around Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area, because the Phillies are taking on the Rays tomorrow. We are going to preview that series and talk about what we're looking for in that, expectations. Will Alec Boehm hit his first home run? Minor league stadium, all kind of jumps down there. Maybe. We're going to break down all of this in tomorrow's episode. But that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube. All that great stuff that helps us out and helps you out. Super free and easy to do. And I appreciate all you very much. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.